Good morning. My name is Richard Wexler, and I'd like to invite you to episode 14 of our podcast. So, as I do on each episode, a little quick recap. 18 years ago, the life for myself, my wife, and our two small children changed when we began caring for what turned out to be all four of our parents. Our children were young, 11 and 7. We were a little bit older. We had four parents in their 80s, and that care lasted for 14 years until the last parent passed at 96 in 2019. So in the last episode, episode 13, I went into a lot more detail about our story, how that affected us, and so on. It obviously led to our company, Points of Life, which we've had since around '06. The ability, once we got extremely educated, to educate people all over the country about aging and care. A lot of what we were doing, as you guys know and continue to do, talking about this four-letter word that most people don't like called plan. And that's something we did not do. And we encourage people to plan. It won't make this episode in your life if you're not special like us and get four parents, but at least wind up taking care of one parent, one in-law, one grandparent, close Uncle Charlie, whatever it may be. That plan will make it easier. So over the years, I have heard a lot of people talk about their story. Something they've gone through taking care of an elder loved one, or something that they're currently going through in taking care of an elder loved one. I have also heard a lot of professionals that are in the elder care industry telling stories about a client and what they are going through or did go through, or the same thing with a patient of theirs and the experience, that story that the patient had. And I realized in listening to those stories, they're pretty riveting. These are real life, what people, like I say, have already gone through or what people are going through. And I sat back and said, I would like to share a lot of stories similar to those on the podcast. So what does that mean? Well, the first thing I thought of, you know what? As much as I liked the title of the podcast that we had, I thought it might be time to make a change. We're still going to have me talking about different things that people should understand about aging and care that will hopefully make this easier when something happens within your life or the lives of those aging loved ones. We're still going to bring on guests that are experts in different aspects, like we had with assisted living, so on and so forth. A lot more guests to come. But we're also going to concentrate a lot in bringing in people with their stories. Once again, they're the average individual, or they're a professional. Maybe they've gone through it personally, and maybe they've seen what's happened with a patient or a client. With all that said, we decided to change the name of the podcast. The new name is Caring in America. We want to share those stories. We're hoping that by sharing those stories, we can possibly help someone that's out there. Hey, that sounds similar to what I'm going through. Hey, the struggles that that individual went through are similar to me. What they've done, who they've connected with that are professionals in the industry, maybe that's who I should connect with. Maybe not the same professional, but someone who does the same type of work. Some of these stories are going to be really personal. They're going to be about taking care of mom or dad or a grandparent, whoever it may be. Or they are hard for that professional to talk about because they're talking about a client they possibly became close to or a patient they became close to and watching their journey. And there's a lot of other people out there similar to my family, my wife and my two small children, who are no longer small, and the fact that they have had somewhat similar stories that went on for years. And as we've talked about with dementia and with Alzheimer's, unfortunately, we're seeing situations where care is needed for a long time, north of 10 years. So I'm going to make this episode short, but I wanted to inform you that moving forward, the title is now Caring in America. You will hear me talk about all these issues. We will still bring in professionals to really educate people about all aspects of aging and care. And we're also going to bring a lot of people on the podcast that are talking about the story. So before I wrap up, please reach out to me. Do you have a story personally? Do you have a story about a client you've worked with or a patient you worked with? Or do you have multiple stories? Reach out to me. Let's talk. Let's see if it makes sense to get you on one of our episodes. Help other people by the story that you're talking about. I want to give you that email address again. I'm going to wait a second. Do you have a pen? The email is eldered2023@gmail.com. ELDERED2023@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let's talk. Let's reach out where you and I talk about your story. If you're willing to share that story or maybe even multiple stories, let other people hear it. I really urge you guys to do that. I think it can be really beneficial. With that, until we talk again, have an awesome day. I want to give you an update as to what's coming on the podcast. Future episodes that we're excited about. First, a conversation with Jeff Cave. He's the founder of Parent Placement Solutions. So we have talked about the concept of placement. What is it? How does it work? What's it cost? Hey, don't tell anybody. It doesn't cost the client or the family anything. It's actually free. It's a great service to help a family find an assisted living, a memory care community, etc. So our next episode will be a great conversation with Jeff about the subject of placement, and I think it would be an excellent episode for many, many people to listen to. After Jeff, we're going to have a conversation with Karen Isaacs. She's been in the elder care industry for quite a long time. We're going to talk about 3 different subjects. First, a patient advocate. What's that? What do they do? How can they help the patient? How can they help the family? We're going to supply those answers. We're going to ask the question, what's an aging icon? Karen will address that as well. And then she's going to talk about some stories. One that happens to have a good ending, one that happens to be a little bit tougher. And what I'm hoping is the listening audience and listening to those stories can understand why we're talking about the issues we do, why we talk about planning, etc. And then the next episode after that will be with Barbara Croyle, a conversation. She's also had years of experience in the elder care industry, which you would think would make the time that she wound up caring for her mother from long distance that much easier. The truth, it really didn't. She's going to talk about that story and talk about the ups and downs of caring for her mother and caring for her from about 400 or so miles away. So we encourage you. We're excited about the conversation with Jeff, with Karen, with Barbara, and they will be recorded and downloaded live very soon. As I always end, folks, have yourself an awesome day until we talk again.